We start with a big shout out to Columbus, Ohio.
Viewers?
Viewers and listeners. I've never figured for consistently people in Columbus, Ohio. We have like, say, regular listeners in Salt Lake, 4,700, and that's on a regular basis. But in Columbus, we have 3,000.
That's awesome.
But I'm still trying to figure it out.
You're from Ohio.
Well, and I went to school there too, and I hung around bars there back in my drinking days, but that was a long time ago. So the only thing I'm figuring is that there's probably some treatment program that forces their clients to listen to Odyssey House journals.
Or you went to bars with like 3,000 people.
And they're all alcoholics now, and they're all in recovery. Anyway, if you're in Columbus, please contact us. You can. How can they get a hold of us? Just
comment on our YouTube.
Comment on our YouTube. Yeah, that's a good idea. Anyway, enough of that crap. I was just surprised that there's so many there. So hello, Columbus.
Hello.
And hello to everyone else around the world and right here in Utah to another edition of Odyssey House Journals. I'm your host, Randall Carlisle. Nicole Slack is our co-host, and Nina Belka is our guest today. That's a Belka. What kind of last name is that?
It's Russian and German. I believe it means squirrel in German.
Well, I just happen to have the fact that there are 330 regular people in Germany listening, and in Russia, 90.
Oh.
So say hello to people from way back in your past.
Okay, hello, people from Russia and Germany.
You know, there's an expression that when we're talking about addiction, that addiction is a family disease because it not only affects the person who is addicted, but it affects dozens of people around them. And you are a prime example of addiction being a family disease. When Nina contacted me, she told me her mother went through Odyssey House twice. She succeeded the second time, I presume, or was it during a number of different years?
She succeeded both times. She wound up having to come back. She got in a relationship and relapsed pretty hard. But she's done pretty well ever since.
And you were how old each time? What?
The first time I was 11 when she finally went into treatment, and the second time I would have been 16.
Wow. And you called, when you were talking to me, you called yourself a child, an Odyssey House child, or a child of Odyssey House. What was your, it's interesting because we're talking about families being affected. What was your vision or conception of what Odyssey House was back in those younger days?
I think when I was young, I just assumed that it was a place that saved people that needed saving. As I got older, I realized how much it was helping people and the fact that it was a treatment facility and how much addiction really is a disease. And that's why growing up, I decided that I wanted to work for Odyssey, and I intend to work for them forever. So.
Wow, now there, our HR department would be happy to hear that. We have a forever employee. What was your mom's substance that she was addicted to?
It was heroin.
And what was life like for you during that addiction? I mean, do you have vivid memories or?
Yes. I remember pretty much everything, and that kind of sucks because she doesn't. That actually reminds me, the first time she went through treatment, she didn't want me to talk about any of the things that happened, and I kind of think that's where she failed the second time, is I finally wanted to start talking about all the things that happened to me because of her addiction, and it sort of led to like her not being able to function, and then she relapsed. And then the second time we were able to do therapy and talk about it. And so, I mean, anybody that's grown up with somebody that does heroin around them, it's not fun. We were homeless a lot, and like there was a lot of abuse, a lot of arguments, a lot of things that I wish I could have saved my siblings from. But the second time around, I did wind up saving my little sister. I took custody of her so that my mom could just focus on getting better. So, yeah.
And how's your mom doing now?
She's doing wonderful. She has a little over 5 years completely sober.
Wow.
And then we bought a house together. So we live together right now.
So you and your mom own a house together.
Mm-hmm.
How's that working out?
It's good. Sometimes we run into her wanting to parent me, and I'm like, I'm an adult. This is not happening. But that's about it.
Well, now, Nicole, you're a mom. You're always going to want to parent your child, aren't you?
Yeah, I was going to say that would be so hard to fight, though. But do you think that sometimes maybe you're just like hanging on to the don't parent me?
I would say early adulthood, like teenage years, yes. But more now, I kind of reach out to her for parenting stuff, and just kind of the vibe that I have going is like, if I ask for your help, I'm more than welcoming it, versus like, you don't need to control everything I do. And I don't think she tries to. I just think it's a motherly instinct. She wants to protect me from the world. So
I'd have to say that just happens, though. Like, my daughter's 20, and she'll call me for something, and I start giving her advice, and she'll I can tell she checks out.
she's like, I just want to vent. Thanks.
Yeah.
My mom is 96, and I'm in my 70s, and she still does the same thing. So you've got a long way to go there.
Yeah,
dear.
so it's not going to end anytime soon.
No. And I ask you ahead of time, before we started, if you've been addicted to any substances.
Yeah. Alcohol was my DOC. And honestly, I feel like I'm still paying the price for that, because I've got a lot of health problems from drinking and not taking care of myself at all during that point in time. So,
How long did you battle that addiction?
let's see, early teens. Let's say like 4 years, 5 years.
Did you ever do any sort of rehab or anything?
I didn't. I've been to meetings. I've been to therapy. I've been to a doctor. I specifically wound up going to a doctor my last relapse so that I could be put on medication to stop myself from the possibility, because I think I might just be one of those people that I need it in the back of my mind that it's not an option regardless of how stressed I am.
Yeah.
So I think MAT is an amazing tool for anyone that wants to use it.
I totally agree, and I did the same thing after decades of drinking, and it was always my outlet, like to be comfortable at parties, to feel okay if I had to speak to a group, all that kind of stuff, and I had done it for so long that when I finally was determined not to drink anymore, I did both. What's the
Vivitrol?
What's Vivitrol? When I did it, Vivitrol didn't exist, but it's comprised of a drug,
Naltrexone.
naltrexone. Yes, that I had to take a pill every day, and not only that, I took a drug called Antabuse, which is a horrible. I mean, it's what in the old days when you picture the old town drunk coming down and being arrested and taken down to the judge saying, Charlie here is, we picked him up again. And judges would sentence them to have to do Antabuse, have to come down to the courthouse every day and take a pill. And it was declared unconstitutional because Antabuse basically just makes you sick as a dog if you ingest any alcohol. And I saw people in AA meetings who had taken antabuse and then would down a pint of vodka or something, and they're puking, I mean, and diarrhea, and it's awful. And I've
Sounds
seen,
amazing.
well, and when I asked my doctor for a prescription for it, he was very reluctant to do it because they've had people die from dehydration because it makes you so sick. So I did that along with naltrexone, and I was so scared from the stories I heard, and I kept that up for probably 6 months to a year because of fear, and which is not a great reason, I guess, to stop something, but it worked.
Yeah, if
You
it
know.
works, it works.
And it was like, and so if something bad would happen to me on a given day that normally I would go home and start drinking, it's like, I can't do that, And pretty soon your thought pattern begins to change, saying, I've got to just sort of deal with this issue without drinking. So I think drugs like, it's a personal choice, but
Sober time under your belt, though, clears up your head and it gives you more
Yes.
strength, right? So you kind of did a good job. Also, you're sober, so you did a really good job.
But the people at AA meetings told me I was a wimp. They said, if you really are sincere and you subscribe to the 12 steps and you do everything right, you don't need that crutch. And I said, screw you. So, because it's working for me.
Yeah.
So that's all. So what was yours? Was it Vivitrol or?
It was naltrexone. Yeah. And it helped me lose weight, so win-win.
Naltrexone helps you lose weight?
Yeah, it made me less hungry, so yeah.
God, we better not let that out. Right now, there's so much controversy over things like Ozempic and stuff like that of people using. So, naltrexone, if you want to take it, loses weight, according to her. Okay, and none of us are doctors, right?
Right.
So,
I was like, no.
so you're working at Odyssey now, doing what?
I'm currently a case manager. I'm trying to switch into a CPSS role, but that's slow moving, so.
And you said you want to work with people in addiction for the rest of your life. Is that because of the way you grew up or what?
Yeah, both of my parents are addicts. My mom is the only one I saw get out of it. Half of her family is still in active addiction, and that's something she struggles with every day, not being able to help them. And I'd like to be one of the people that one day, if they choose to, can help them. So, yeah.
Well, there's no doubt that genetics plays a role in addiction.
As much as I hope it doesn't, for the next
Yeah.
Michael.
Well,
But it does.
It doesn't affect everyone. Like I have a sister and a brother, and even though alcoholism runs in my family, neither of them have the disease, and I do.
Yeah.
So,
How long have you worked for Odyssey?
Total 4 years, a little over 4 years.
Okay. Very cool. Yeah. What do you like most about it?
I really like the people. I like what I'm doing now. I get to run groups and get to know people on a really personal level. And I even had a client the other day who came in early because he felt so triggered by an incident that happened. And he just started crying in group and said that it was the only place that he felt safe enough to do so. And that made me really, really happy.
It's always nice to help other people.
it's interesting what triggers people. You could ask 10 different people what your triggers are for your addiction, and you probably get 10 different answers.
Absolutely.
What can you identify yours?
I think grief is definitely one of them. Feeling out of control, because I was so out of control my whole childhood that just not having any sense of control over myself or my life now is a really big deal. Yeah, I think grief is pretty much the biggest one, because my little brother was adopted out when I was young, and it took a really, really long time to get over that. Even though I hadn't lost him completely, it was a loss in general.
Sure. Do you know what yours are, Nicole?
Loneliness, being alone, abandonment. I said that wrong. Abandonment. There you have it.
Huh.
Yeah. Totally different.
Yeah, see? And I think mine is insecurity about not being good enough. And I'm sort of a perfectionist. For instance, because I did TV news for a long time, and I hated watching my videotapes of myself. Because and every day after I would get done with a newscast, I would sit there and say, I should have done this different. I should have done that different. I could have been so much better. And then I'd have a couple of drinks and I say, well, it was okay, But I do that with everything I do, and so that's my trigger. I wish I could do everything the way I envision would be the right way of doing it.
How do you get through it now?
I get through it now because I say I'm human. I make mistakes. I always will make mistakes. Nothing will ever be perfect, and I shouldn't expect it to be perfect, and I should just be happy that I'm doing my best. So
I love that.
And that's all you can do in life. But I've met so many people who are dealing with addiction who are perfectionists, right? That seems to be the downfall of a lot of people.
Yeah.
You must be learning a lot facilitating groups at our outpatient program. Any particular observations you glean from that?
I actually run the Compass Level group, and getting to see people's relapse cycles and them understanding, like, it tends to be perfectionism is where they start to fall back into the line of their relapse cycle. So I think that's a really good observation, and I completely agree with that one.
Yeah, perfectionism was definitely in my 5. They give you 5
Thinking errors.
thinking errors. Wait, this one. Power and control. That's weird, right? Perfectionism. Yeah, but that was my second one.
Hey, wonder why people are like. I think it had something to do with my upbringing because, like, I had a very violent dad who demanded perfection. For instance, and I'll never forget this. Whenever I'd mow the lawn, he had me mow it so it looked like you see on a baseball field. So it had to be like crisscrossing, so you could see the tracks and everything. And so after I'd mowed the lawn once, he'd say, "Now go out and do it just the opposite way so I can see tracks." And that's the way my life was.
I think lawns would be a trigger for you.
Well, that's why I live in a condo and I don't have lawns, so I don't have to drink after I do something like that. It is interesting how when you work at a place like this, you hear so many different stories. So, and you were started when you were. Do you remember the times you were homeless?
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was not great. When we were homeless with my mom, we at least got beds, and when we were homeless, like, with both parents, we had beds and, like, clothes and food, versus when we were homeless with just my dad. The way that the homeless shelter works really sucks, and I hope that they've changed it. But the men's side, you get cots, and they wake you up every day at like 5 or 6 in the morning,
Right.
and then they kick you out. And that was the worst experience ever.
Well, did you? And I did a lot of news stories down there. So you were at the road home, and they did that. You didn't sleep on the men's side, though, right?
Well, it was like the men's and families side, and
Okay.
because they were so overflowed, yeah, we had to sleep on the men's side.
Okay, and you probably not aware of this. The reason they did that, they kicked everybody out in the morning, so they just totally, and it was a really horrible place to be. So they could basically sanitize the whole place again all day, and then you couldn't come back till like 4 or 5 in the afternoon and stand in line to get a bed again. And it was just, and that's what precipitated so many homeless people living or just hanging around the streets down there. And it was just it was a hellhole.
Do they do it different now?
Yes.
Okay.
You don't have to leave. You can stay there all day now. You can keep your bed, your cot. You get 3 meals a day at the shelter. So
I love that.
So it'd be better being in a shelter now than it was then. And they tore that place down. So, and it was just it was terrible. I mean,
That's wild.
I know. And think about how self-defeating that was. And you were so you had to get up in the morning. What'd you do all day then when they threw you out?
My dad had friends that happened to be on the family side, so we would go hide there for a little bit, and then we would wind up either going and walking around the mall, or my dad would like drop us off somewhere for someone to watch us, someone that was like actively dealing, which is not a great environment for kids to be in, but whatever.
That is tough to grow up like that. And at the time, did you know that that what was going on was illegal and not pleasant?
Yeah. But I couldn't do anything about it. And I mean, there were a couple times that I did try to like call the police and try to figure out everything. But growing up like that, you are trained to like lie to police and to basically be afraid of them. So I was afraid of like what would come next. So, yeah.
And your dad told you how to deal with them.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So what's your opinion now, police? Are you okay with them?
I'm okay with them. I think just from the way that I grew up, I still have a lot of anxiety around them. I don't particularly like being around them, but like I don't feel like they're bad people. Like they're doing their job. I mean, in general, anybody that's doing their job can be bad people, but it depends on the person.
Huh.
Do you feel like now that you've like been through all that, like you can serve the community a little better? Like, do you advocate for your clients?
Yes. I am my client's like number one cheerleader. And I actually kind of had a discussion with my clients the other day in group about the fact that like I'm not a graduate, and I was like, sometimes I wish I had that credibility to like back me up. And they were like, but you've given bits and pieces of your story, and like we understand that you understand what it's like to grow up in this environment, and you were an alcoholic. And I'm like, yeah, but sometimes I still feel like I was a graduate.
Yeah.
Just
You accomplished something.
Yeah.
And now you're giving back. That's amazing.
I feel like I should be an honorary graduate.
Well, you are a person in long-term recovery, and you said I wasn't an alcoholic, and you always will be.
Right.
And that's the way we all have to look at it, because addiction is a lifelong disease. And you were saying on one of our previous podcasts how you, as opposed to, when I go to an AA meeting, it's, hi, I'm Randall, I'm an alcoholic. And you found that it made a big difference for you saying I'm a
Person in long-term recovery.
without saying I'm an alcoholic,
Yeah.
or I'm a heroin
I'm an
addict, or I'm
addict.
a blah, blah, blah. Why does that make a difference?
For me, it felt like that was like a label, addict. And then people can't look past that. Whereas if I'm just a human who's, out here doing my best, but I'm in long-term recovery, this isn't new. I'm working at it every day. And even though I still think I'm a baby, I'm only 2 years sober, but I think that means something, and it means more than I'm an addict. It's a person working.
No, I understand that. I just was curious why,
Yeah.
why it does make a difference to people. And of course, if you said that to me and I was somebody dating you or something, it'd be like, I wonder what she's recovering from. I'd be, because you don't really identify at that point.
Yeah. If people want to be nosy and ask more questions, but I guess that's on them.
Yeah.
I
You
mean,
have to admit to being nosy.
would you be honest if you said I'm a person in long-term recovery, and then they said, what are you recovering from?
Yeah, no, I have no problem saying it. I just don't think I have to be out there saying I'm an addict
Or an alcoholic.
or an alcoholic.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know. Maybe, like I said, that's just for me. That brings me peace and makes me empowered, I guess, to feel proud of what I've done.
well, it gets rid of some of the shame and the stigma that goes with it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is your dad still alive?
As far as I know, he is.
So he's not in your life. So it's you and your mom fighting at your house that you own together.
Yeah.
When she tries to parent you.
I don't feel like we fight a lot, to be honest.
I'm joking because what you're describing is totally normal. You know, Nina, you should be doing this. You know, if I want your advice, I'll ask for it.
Well,
Right?
Do you have kids?
no, I am diagnosed with unexplained infertility. So we're actually working on that right now. So hopefully soon.
Very cool.
I always wondered what you would think is so you want to have kids.
Absolutely.
Does it worry you that you're going to pass along this stupid gene that we seem to have?
It does, but at the same time, I want to be honest with my kids, and I'm hoping that they don't do what I did and try to like prove people wrong, because that's kind of why I fell into mine. Is I assumed that the addiction gene wouldn't hit me, and so I was like, no, I can drink casually, I'll be fine. And then it started to get worse and worse and worse until I recognized that like this is a problem. So I think just being completely honest with them, maybe like keeping them involved in like the recovery community would be helpful. And just because like growing up seeing that, I didn't want to go towards drugs. So maybe if they have examples of drugs and alcohol, they will steer clear of both. You know? Maybe.
Learn from both grandma and mom.
Right.
Wow.
Do you attend like Odyssey days and all of those things?
I try to. Last year I wasn't a huge fan, but it's okay.
I love going to those because the kids are there too, and it's, you know, all of us in our recovery community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you said before we started this that you're uncomfortable talking in front of people and in crowds.
I am.
And why the hell would you want to do a podcast?
Because one of my clients asked me, and I really wanted to support her, so I said yes. And I'm not gonna lie, I have been talking myself backing out of this all week. And I was like, no, you made a commitment, you're gonna go do it. So I'm proud of myself for doing a hard thing.
Way to go.
Yeah.
Wasn't as bad as you pictured?
No.
See, that's the thing. Whenever you dread something like that, and then you go through with it, even though you were dreading it, you think, it wasn't that bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, you were nervous the first time.
I couldn't breathe. Yeah. That's why when I see like you look so nervous, I'm like, it's kind of like, I'll just chat. It's just a chat.
You did a great job.
Thanks.
Thank you for sharing. And I think it, you know, hopefully it'll shed a light on some people out there that it does run in families, and it's if it doesn't run in families, it affects families. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Nina.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nicole.
Yeah.
And thank you for watching or listening to another edition of Odyssey House Journals.